1804. Who remembers 1804? It's still in effect. An anti-immigrant bill that became law in 2007 and was so restrictive that it set the tone for the rest of the country at that time in developing similar legislation. From that moment, we took action along with our community partners who are also here with us today that have been with us throughout the years, and learned as we went to become involved in our community. We will never forget each time, year after year, when we advocated against the repeal of in-state tuition and many other anti-immigrant bills along with other community organizations at the state capitol. We will never forget the never-ending amount of online petitions and phone calls made throughout the years to stop the deportations of undocumented immigrants around the country. We will never forget when a former city councilman representing East Tulsa attempted to pass a city ordinance to heavily regulate food trucks, blatantly targeting Mexican food trucks as a means of immigration enforcement before food trucks really became popular in downtown Tulsa. And we showed up at City Hall to fight back. We will never forget the banner drops that started at the pedestrian bridges that we held at Admiral between Lewis and Delaware and also on Riverside that said, "Dream Act now, reform, not raise." And eventually, these banner drops made their way to Oklahoma City and Norman as we expanded into different chapters. We will never forget the multiple trips we made to Washington, D.C. with money we raised on our own, asking for support from our community. We drove ourselves to D.C. and we made appointments that the legislators never showed up for, but we still made it. We will never forget when the DREAM Act passed, which was a federal legislation that would have given more benefits. When it passed for the first time in its 10-year history, when we were part of that campaign in the U.S. House of Representatives. And then it fell short in the U.S. Senate by 5 votes, leaving us devastated and defeated. We will never forget the day DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, was announced on June 15, 2012. I was over there at the center of the universe when I got the phone call from our contacts in D.C. that it was going to be announced the next morning by the White House. And this was thanks to the work that we did as youth and allies across the nation together when we pressured the Obama administration to give it to us. And we will never forget the stories that we shared with each other where everyone was at when they found out when it was officially announced, including when one of our members was at his construction job and he went to the portable bathroom and cried tears of joy because he could finally have a job out of desire and not out of necessity. I'm telling you all of this to remind you that this has been going on. This is not something new with this administration. We will never forget the empty promises made by the previous administration to also protect families from deportation, but instead turned out over 2 million deportations, the most deportations for any of the modern administrations. We will never forget the growth of 287G programs, including the one we have down the street at David L. Moss with the Tulsa County Sheriff's Office, profiting off of the mass detainment and deportation of undocumented immigrants, and Secure Communities program as well around the country. We will never forget the increase in privatized detention centers and the inhumane conditions that detainees are subjected to. We will never forget the unaccompanied refugee children from Central America who were denied asylum only to be deported back to their native countries overwhelmed with violence and extreme poverty. We will never forget the fear of deportation, separation, and racial profiling affecting our family and friends. Like I said, most of y'all had been with us throughout the years in the struggle for immigrant justice. We will never forget how far we have come and how much more advocacy lies ahead. For those of you who have never been involved or new to this movement, we need you all to remember the immigrant community next time the contract for 287G comes up for renewal with the city commissioners. We need you all to remember the immigrant community next time there is a town hall meeting facilitated by local law enforcement agencies where they will downplay systematic oppression. Let them know that discriminatory practices are happening and bring proof. Remember the immigrant community next time anti-immigrant law proposals appear, and call your legislators and show up. And remember the immigrant community the next time you witness hateful language or behavior, and stand up to hate. Stand up to hate with love. Undocumented brothers and sisters and refugees, we are here to support you. Together, we will work to ensure that Tulsa is a safe place for everyone. We will resist together, because in the end, all we have is each other, and we must take care of each other. A todos los hermanos y hermanas inmigrantes y los refugiados, estamos aquí para apoyarles. Y vamos a seguir luchando para que Tulsa esté un lugar seguro. No wall, no ban. Tulsa is a city for all. Thank you. Yeah.